intersect with two protocols in public blockchains, Ethereum and Bitcoin. But that's what we need to find. And on the spectrum bandwidth, I think the low one is free, isn't it? And then they say you upgrade. I just think the crypto people are going to go in there and on the fly create whatever spectrum they need and do a deal, and they're away.
That makes sense to me though, right?
Absolutely, that's what's happening. It's almost like an artificial market, just like banking and healthcare today, that some centralized body to put a tax on it.
And then you've got Vodafone and others trying to lock every device down with a SIM card, with NB-IoT or LTM, whatever the hell you want to call it. Okay, I think it's horses for course. I think there is actually a corporate setting where they'll actually pull over that and they'll love it. But from a general, kind of consensus point, locking down devices with SIM cards, it seems to be a real backward step in my view. Open it up. So we've got a question over here, then we'll come to you. Vicky, you've been quite active on social media. Join the conversation. So we'll maybe come to you in a sec.
Yeah,
so
it's a
go
question
ahead.
for Fred. It's interesting the power aspect of these small devices. But based on what you're saying, does the end of battery mean the end of life of the product? Or
Yeah.
you mean have a year?
Yes, absolutely. And that is why one of the interesting things is when we hear something about 20 years on life of a device on battery, actually what becomes a limitation is the battery life. And some of the batteries are 10 years life. So you're not going to get more than 10. But we were asked by Proximus to bid for a tracking device. And they wanted LoRa, and they wanted Bluetooth, and they also wanted occasional Wi-Fi. And we were able to, with a revised version of the low-pi, we were able to get 10 years on the battery. In fact, it was 12 years, but because the battery we were using had a 10-year lifetime, that was the maximum.
But you just send out a sort of an army of drones to replace them in 10 years, and you'll be fine.
10 years you've been in.
Go for it.
Hi, I'm Valentin. I'm doing some research in IoT. My question is, looking back at the smart contract using blockchain, where you would have some sensors activating particular stages in this contract, but we all know that sensors can be spoofed in a way or another, right? The same thing with the health medical records. What keeps you from reading once and just copying the information?
Gary, you're
So
all over this,
how do
right?
you-
It's a man-in-the-middle attack, yes, is the idea. So you're saying once if I can get in the middle of your process and effectively say you have a heart rate sensor, suddenly I'm the person in the middle and I'm going, this guy's dead. You know, he's not got a heart rate anymore. And I can report that to the blockchain. Now it's on the blockchain, so your doctor suddenly got an alert that says, you've died. So suddenly they're issuing an ambulance. Now if I do that to you, it's probably quite amusing and it's an inconvenience. But then if I do that to 6 billion people in the UK, suddenly the NHS is broke, the government's broke, and then there's a destabilising effect. A man-in-the-middle attack is something I think quite interesting for that. It's something quite relatively simplistic. The protocols around about it need to be tightened, but the people in this room, and one of the reasons I'm quiet is because I'm finding it quite interesting in that there's developers in the room, and I know there's people with various different knowledge, is that the people in this room are the people that are going to affect that, and that's the big bit about it. So there's no protocol at the moment, but
So
there's no heart rate monitors on the blockchain at the moment. There's a reason behind that.
So is that a critical flaw?
Sorry, can I just
system
jump in? Can you just
altogether?
introduce yourself to the room real
Yes,
quick?
sorry, so I'm a fourth year ethical hacking student studying at Abertay University, and my focus for my dissertation is on an IoT blockchain with the emphasis on security. So I'm going to look at the holes and kind of highlight them, because that's something that's not been done at the moment. We had people that launched projects, so the big one by Ethereum, there was the DOA, which was a company, the company
Slockit,
that run
right?
itself. Yep.
Yeah.
And we had a company that run itself that lost $5 million in a weekend.
DAO. Yeah,
Yeah.
just to explain what DAO is.
And DAO is a decentralized autonomous organisation. So a company that has no employees, that takes cash in via machine processes or via transactions with users, of which you can withdraw at a predetermined time or not, and it can transact directly with room workers.
Jose,
Thanks.
sorry.
So, yeah.
Thank you so much for coming all the way from Newcastle.
Thank you, Evan. Great to
Come
catch
again,
us.
okay?
Thank
No
you very
worries.
much.
See you later. Sorry, go ahead.
So that's what a DAO is. A DAO is effectively can do all that itself. So the idea is that you can have a car that when it needs filled up, it can drive itself to a petrol station, it can fill itself up, it can pay for that payment. And then at the end of the week it comes back and it goes, you know, I've made this much because I've done a taxi service for you and I've done this and I've done that, and yeah, that's what Dale is. So that is probably the model that I'll be using, not to give too much away, but that'll be the model I'm probably going to use to look at security.
So
But
Dan
I'm
was
just one guy.
So currently, in the current format of how these sort of applications have been developed and how they work, do you see any immediate change or some easy way around it except this sort of systems?
So a DAO is just an aggregate of smart contracts calling each other.
But in the end, it's down to the
But
physical,
what you're describing, I call
translating the physical into the digital aspect in order to enable particular stages. And also it may be relevant to the way this information is collected and transmitted, because you can, if you continuously stream the information, you cannot alter it being centralized in a unique point. So yeah, is there any views on that, on how to?
So I describe what you're describing as the network data science problem. So you have to network the data in such a way that no one can collude to know which data is included in the experiment.
Yeah.
And then you sort of have this oracle, and you can do that through prediction markets. But what my project is doing is giving you mathematical proofs that even if you have a lot of compute power and you're trying to game the system with the heart attack data, it would be impossible for you to do it. It would be so costly, you wouldn't spend the money to do it. So we have people to get us on that vision, data scientists, whether it's environmental waste or financial service risk modeling. They just want to document their data science methodology into smart contracts so they can reproduce whatever result they're putting forward right now. But if everyone does that, then all these data sets can then be liberated to get an aggregate view. And those algorithms have not been created yet, but people are working on them.
I think there's also an element of behaviour of the device and analysing what is a normal behaviour of the device and when it operates outside of what you've set as the parameters of a device behaviour, normal behaviour. And I gave an example earlier in the other speech, and I'll give the same one because for us it's funny and it's true. But in the M2M world, the best way you want to hack a device is actually go with a screwdriver. That's the sure way of doing it. We were doing M2M connected services, and it was one of these council environments where they were offering shelter to people and homes to people which had part of their energy and house maintenance monitored by the council using a router in the attic of this building. And so obviously you have this historical data for each device on your network, which you can easily see. And then all of a sudden, the alarm bells went off because it went from something like 1 megabyte a month data to quickly about 100 meg data within an hour or half an hour, whatever it was. And so we looked at the data trace, and it was streaming movies all of a sudden on the web. And so we were able to send a message to the person who'd done that using our technology saying, we know what you're doing, you're either going to stop, and obviously we notify the council. And basically somebody had gone in, put the SIM card out of the router and put it in their laptop and were streaming. So the fact is, I keep saying, if you want, screwdrivers are great to hack, and it's just a question of making it so much more difficult. And so, yes.
So I just think the blockchain just loves these things because the solution is not security, it's the whole economic security of human behavior. And the blockchain is the first software, the first technology that gives you those properties.
Yeah.
And we just need to get them into the solution because it's not a technical fix. It's a technical fix with an economic cost, with a social cost. And right now you're not solving the whole problem, you're always leaving a plaque open. And the genius of Bitcoin is that every time you think it's going to load transaction volume, we've got 4 protocols already putting their in the pipeline to go live in the next few weeks that may give us a 10-fold increase. The transactions are going like this, just like the internet went through the .com and the Web 2, number of pages on the web. So there is some robust, canny-as-you-go scaling going on. And I just think we just have to always remind ourselves the genius that Bitcoin is.
Absolutely. I mean, I don't want to go into the subject in too much depth because we will be covering it on the 30th of November, the decentralization of data in the context of IoT, of course. That will be held at DLA Piper's offices, where the very first IoT Edinburgh meetup was ever held, I think in May 2014, is that right? Something like that. Anyway, it's just down the road in Rutland Square. So, in terms of, we've been talking about decentralization of transactions, smart contracts, currency. How about data? Because one of the things that I touched upon earlier, I'm getting very freaked out, a lot of people I know